Welcome back once again to another lesson on CSS Animation. And in this lesson, I'm going to start with showing how the animation works and what's the role of the keyframes. So let's get started. And to begin with, let's consider a very simple scenario where we have an element with a class of, let's say, box1, and we are changing the color of the element from the blue color to a green color. So that's the animation. The animation is of the background color change from blue color to a green color. And let's say we have set the duration of the animation for 10 seconds. So this transformation is going to take 10 seconds and it's going to be very slow. But importantly over here we have two time points. One is the 0%, that is the beginning of the animation. So at 0%, what should be the state? State means like what should be the property and what should be its value. Okay, and then we have 100%, that is at the end of the animation, what should be the state? So at the start of the animation, the state is that the background color is set to blue. And at the end, the state is that the background color is set to green. Now there could be some other state as well, let's say. In addition to the background color green, maybe the rotation of the box is at 45 degrees. So if we look over here, let's say that it is the CSS code, and here we have provided the original property of background color blue. So where exactly do we define that the color changes to green at 100%? So this is where the keyframes come into picture. So we create a rule for the keyframes. Let me show you here with a simple example. And we create a rule for the keyframes and give it a name. And this name is basically referred to as the animation name. So we kind of are creating animation and we are giving it a name of, let's say, change color. So here in this case, we have two time frames. One is from and the second is to. So from is basically 0% starting and to means 100%. So inside we are mentioning the property and the value. So initial property is set to blue. Even if we skip that, even if we keep it blank inside, then also it's going to be the initial state, the original property of the element. But here to means what should be the state at the end. So here the background color is set to green. So this is something that we have to add. So for a simple scenario like this where we are just changing for once the property and the value, we can simply use from and to. And it will be for a duration of 10 seconds just like we have mentioned. If we reduce or increase the duration, it's going to be for that particular duration. Now let's say in between we also want to change the property another time. And let's say we are at this point changing the color from blue to orange and we want to do it at 50%. So what that means is 50% of the entire duration is going to be 5 seconds. So from 0 seconds to 5 seconds, the color is going to change from blue to orange. And then from 5 seconds to 10 seconds, 100% of 10 seconds is going to be 10 seconds. So from 5 to 10 seconds, the color is changing from orange to green. So we now have 3 time points. So in that case, the animation would look like this. And here we cannot simply use from and to, because from and to are useful when we are changing only once, like from blue to green, or it could be any other property, but just once we are changing. But here we are changing twice. We have some other property and value over here in between. And at 50% we have defined the background color of orange. Now again over here, if we change the property or we add another property, that would also be applied at this point in time. Okay, so after we have created the animation name, we also can refer to the animation with that name. So change color is the animation name that we created. So here for this box, for the element, if we want to provide the animation to this element, then we have to add this property of animation name. And then we have to reference the name, which is going to be this name because we want this animation. And since we create the animation separately with a certain name, if we want to provide the same animation for another element as well, then we can also provide that with the animation name of change color. So let's say if it is some other element as well, let's say h1, and we want to provide an animation, then we'll write animation name and provide the value as change color. So it's useful in that case as well. So that was about the theory, and let me show you now in action how the animation work on the browser. So let's get started. So here I have the text editor on the left and the web browser on the right, and I have set up a live server for that so that whatever changes I make on the text editor, and as soon as I hit save, I can see those results live on the web browser without having to click on the reload button. And in addition to that, I'm also using Amit, and for both of the options I have created the lessons already. You can watch them if you haven't. Especially the Amits are very useful because they help us code faster with just using the shortcuts. Like here I'm going to use a shortcut of exclamation and as soon as I hit tab, I have the basic markup of the page. So didn't really have to type all this. It's very useful, especially when you have started to work on some projects. At that time, you would feel annoyed typing the same thing again and again. So these shortcuts come in handy and very useful. So let's now try adding the content, and first I would like to change the title to, let's say, my animation. And I would also like to link to this main.css file. So let's add link over here, hit tab, everything is added except for the href. So let's now type in main.css. Now our link is added, and now let's go over here inside the body tags, and then let's add an element, and I'm going to be using h1 for now. Again, we can add any element over there. This is just for demonstrating. So here, let's say this is a heading, is the text inside, and if I hit save, well, we don't see anything. Let's hit refresh over here. Now we can see them. It's initially, sometimes it's required to hit on this reload button once, but now at this point, if I make any changes, then it's going to be updated automatically. So initially we may have to refresh. And also, let me show you at the end of this lesson, we are also going to be creating this animation effect. I've kind of paused this animation. We get another option within the animation or another property to pause the animation, and that's why it's paused at the moment. But very soon we'll be creating this animation. It's the same animation that we saw in the beginning in the introductory lesson. Alright, so I've added the h1. Let's now head over to the main.css file, and let's target the h1. Let's give a background color of maybe Dodger blue. It's my favorite color. And then let's add some padding of 20 pixels. All these shortcuts that I'm using are thanks to the Emmet. I'm using that plugin. And then after that, let's also add a width of maybe 200 pixels. Alright, I hit save, and there we have our heading. Let's also add some color of maybe white. Save. So here we have our box, and let's say we want to animate this box, and the animation that we want to do is, let's say, of changing the background color, just like we saw, from blue color to green color. Okay, so I go over here, and the first thing that I have to add is the animation name property. So let's add animation name, and let's say I'm going to be creating an animation with the name change color. So I add change color over here, and let's now add that animation. So I'm going to be using the keyframes rule for that. And after that, I'm going to add the name of the animation. So in this case, it's going to be change color. And then inside, I want the color to change from blue color to green color. So I'm going to first add from, and then to. Now initially we are not changing anything. We want the initial state of the element. So the same is going to be okay. So I can even leave it blank. Now to here, I want to change the background to, let's say, sea green. Okay, so now if I hit save, then I don't really see the animation. In fact, the animation is happening, but it's because of a default property called animation duration, and the animation duration by default is set to 0 seconds. So even if the animation is happening, it's happening for 0 seconds, which is null. So in this case, we can add animation duration option, and we can add the duration over here. So let's say I want it to run for 5 seconds, or let's say 10 seconds. So I simply add 10 seconds, or I can express it in milliseconds. So 10,000 milliseconds ms. And now if I hit save, then we are going to see it changing color slowly for a duration of 10 seconds. And now the color changes to green. And then once the animation is over, then it's going to change back to its original state, which is this background color of Dodger blue. So here we are kind of animating this object for a duration of 10 seconds. And now let's say initially also we want a different state. Let's say we want the background to be, let's say, tomato. Okay, now if I hit save, then initially the color is red, and then it changes slowly for a period of 10 seconds to sea green. And let's see which color it restores to. So once it's done, it again restores to the Dodger blue background color. So we are starting with another state of it, and then we are ending at another state, and then it goes back to its original state. Because once the animation is over, it kind of goes back to its original state. Okay, let's now keep it blank for now. it's good that the animation starts from its original state, and again we see it happening. And it happens only once because we have not provided any animation count. How many times should the animation be repeating? So we can add that as well with another property called animation iteration count. So here we have that property, and we can provide the number here. Let's say we want the animation to happen for 5 times, and let's reduce the duration so that we can see the changes a little faster. So let's make it only 5000 milliseconds. So now it's going to happen for 5 times. So if I hit save, then it happens once, changes back to its original state after that, and then it happens twice, and it's going to happen for 5 times. Now let's say you want this to happen forever. So in that case, you can simply mention the value as infinite. So I'm not going to hit save for now. Let's first see how many times it happens. And now we can see that it has stopped. So after 5 times, after a count of 5, it has stopped now. So when I set the value as infinite and hit save, then it's going to happen forever. And let's reduce the time cycle to only 2000 milliseconds and save. We are going to see it continuously now. So we don't need to count, it's going to happen forever. So let's change this time back to maybe 5 seconds because I'm going to be adding another time point over here. And we have from and to only for the basic change from one state to another. But we want to add some more keyframes, so here the from and to would not really be enough. So let's just comment it out for now so that you can take a look at it later. I'm going to be sharing this code with you. So keyframes, and then I want the same animation name, change color, and then inside I want to set 3 time points. One is 0%, and after that I want to have at, let's say, 50%, and then at 100%. Okay, let's say at 0% we are not changing anything, but at 50% we are changing the background color to, let's say, orange, and then at 100% we are changing the background color to, let's say, green. Okay, now if I hit save, then it's going to change first to orange and then it's going to change to green, but everything is happening within 5 seconds. So they are now getting split up. So 50% means 2.5 seconds. So from 0 to 2.5 seconds the color is changing to orange, and from 2.5 to 5 seconds the color is changing to green. So very simple. Now let's consider the scenario where we are adding more properties to it. So by far we have not added any property of, let's say, transform. Well, let's take a simple one. Let's now change the width. So let's say at 50% I want to change the width to, let's say, initially it's 200 pixels, so let's make it maybe 500 pixels. Okay, and I'm not going to be providing this width anywhere, so at 100% we don't have a width of 500 pixels. So here at 100% or at any other stage, if we do not provide the property that we have used in between, then it means that it changes back to its original value of 200 pixels. So if I hit save now, then from 0 to 2.5 seconds, that is till 50%, the width is going to increase and the background color is going to change to orange. But then at 100% the background color is going to change to green. But since we haven't really provided any width, then it's also going to be restored to its original value of 200 pixels. So let's hit save, and the width increases and then it decreases while the color changes to green. And then it changes to blue, then again starts. So is this animation starting again and again. So we can provide multiple properties as well. Now let's say even at 100% we want the width to be the same, only the color should change. So in that case I can add this width of 500 pixels over here once again. If I hit save, then the width is going to remain the same, the color is going to change back to green, and then the width is going to be reduced. Again, it won't reduce because it changes back to its original state, the animation is over, and now it starts all over again. Now we have another option that we'll be talking about in a moment. So these are the frames. We can add even more number of properties to it. Now let's say if I want another point over here, let's say I want the second thing to happen at 25%, and then at 50% I want another effect. So let's say at 50%, I want the background color to change to, let's say, yellow, and the width should increase to, let's say, 600. Okay, and here also, finally also, I want the width to remain the same at least, or let's say it should progressively increase till the end. Now if I hit save, then here we can see that the width keeps increasing. It stops and then it increases, and then it increases, and then it increases. And the color also changes simultaneously from orange to yellow and then to green. And the animation is happening infinitely because we have provided the value as infinite.